Yo, yo, what's up, everyone? It's Jacob here from Sensophy, and I'm sitting down today to talk to my buddy Nathan Agin, who runs Nonstop Awesomeness, and he's up to some goodness that I wanted to introduce you guys to. So, Nathan, what's up, dude?
Hey man, it's going well. Thanks so much for inviting me to chat.
Yeah, right on, dude. So, for people who don't know my relationship with Nathan, Nathan was actually one of the first people, I think the first person to ever reach out to me via telephone. He read Sensophy, found my phone number on Sensophy, and he called me, and I can remember I was driving through Times Square with my dad, and I got this random phone call, and I just picked up the phone call, and I'm driving. In New York, it's illegal to talk on the phone and drive, so I put it on speakerphone. And you got to understand, my dad is sitting next to me. I'm in Times Square. My cell phone is on speakerphone, and it's just some random dude I never heard from before, like, "Hey Jacob, what's up? My name is Nathan, and I just wanted to tell you I appreciate your work, and I'd love to chat sometime." And I was honored. It just felt like such an honor, you know. So Nathan was really one of the first people who reached out to me. So that's kind of where it started, and we ended up developing a relationship. He actually spent a month living in my living room on that couch back there. So this was Nathan's bedroom for a month at some point. And so that's kind of just a little bit of the basis, and I think that was about a year and almost 2 years ago that happened. Holy shit! But time flies, and here we are right now. So Nathan, again, just excited to chat, and I wanted to introduce people what you're up to right now. So you're working on a project, and maybe we can give them a 1 or 2 minute or quick overview of what the project is, and then I'd love to talk more about how you got into it. But first, just love to introduce the project to people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got to say, I remember the day I called you too, and I was so nervous calling because I'm like, I don't know this guy. He's probably gonna think I'm weird, and you know, and it was a great conversation, and obviously, you know, it turned into a great friendship. But I don't think I knew your dad was in the car. That's hilarious. So anyway, so what I'm working on right now is I'm developing a show that is it's a travel show focused on where do you find some of the healthiest places to eat, food that is nutritious and wholesome and delicious and all that stuff, you know, whether it's restaurants, farmers markets, and we've filmed a pilot and, you know, just moving forward with that show because I feel like this is not out there. I feel like it's needed, and yeah, just having a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, dude, that's incredible. So let's back up a little bit, because I mean, what an audacious task to say, like, I'm gonna start a TV show. Like, how many? You're watching. Everyone who's watching right now. Just imagine having that, you know, goal. I'm gonna start a TV show. Like, that's an incredible amount of courage that takes to even say something like that and to follow through with it. So I remember for some time we would have these phone calls, I don't know, every week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and we would just be talking about where we are in life.
Mm-hmm.
You were dabbling in all these different things, trying to, you know, the optimal living stuff, working with Theos, doing travel coaching to help people travel cheaply, all these different things, and you felt like you hadn't really hit the nail on the head completely, and you weren't sure. And we spoke about the idea that I talk about with living on purpose, which
Mm-hmm.
is figuring out what your strengths are, what your passions are, and then how you can serve the world by combining your strengths and your passions. And so you have a history with film and TV and acting and these kind of things, and then you have an incredible amount of strength and wisdom around nutritious living and traveling. You've been traveling on the road for 2.5 years now, is that right?
A little over 2 years, yeah.
A little, so you've literally been living all across America for 2.5 years, and incredibly doing that in the context of healthy living.
Mm-hmm.
I know, like, when I go on vacation, when people who are watching this right now, when they travel, you know, I indulge. You know, I'm away. I'm going, you know, as people are watching this, I think I'll currently be in Japan when this airs, and you better be believing that I am eating it up out there, big time sushi. So, but Nathan has figured out a way to do this, like, in a healthy way, to literally live on the road, to travel full time and do it in a healthy way. And then the next component comes, which is how can he do what he loves, what he's good at, and serve the world in the process of it. So let's talk a little bit about figuring that out. Like, I remember, I think again I was in a car when we had this conversation, and I remember talking to you about, like, about where those three different circles overlapped for you. What was that like for you, starting to piece together this show and your strengths, passions, and how you could serve?
Boy, you touched on a lot in there, and you know, with that specific concept, you know, I did journaling around it. I remember, you know, when we talked about it, and I wrote all this down, and I wrote it out. I'm very good when somebody gives me direction, like, you know, write down these ideas. And I'm like, okay, good, and I can do that. Then it's like, now what? And I felt like, you know, I would write it down, and I still wasn't clear, or I would have like inklings, like, well, maybe this would work, or maybe that would work. And a lot of times it just comes from, you know, going out and doing the work, and not even really focused on, you know, is this going to turn into my career, my life's work, my passion? Um, you know, part of the experience came from just realizing that everybody loves food. And you know, everybody needs food, and everybody, you know, wants to eat food, and we all pretty much eat at least 3 times a day, that kind of a thing. And I personally, you know, when I was staying with people or whatever, they loved when I was cooking or preparing stuff, or we'd go out to eat. Like, there was just all this energy, all this positive energy around food. And you know, I don't have a nutritional background. I'm not certified, and I didn't study it. I'm just study it in kind of a formal context. But I'm really passionate about it, and I really love learning about it. So there was always just this energy of like, okay, there's something to this. And then actually at the World Domination Summit conference that you and I were at this summer, you know, there were a couple specific experiences where I had organized this like Healthy Eats lunch on the first day, just by like adding something simple on the calendar, saying like, hey, let's all go to this restaurant, thinking, I don't know, maybe 10 people are going to show up, and 50 people show up. And people were thanking me all weekend, and I'm just like trying to wrap my head around, like, all I did was like click a few buttons. Like, I didn't cook the food, I didn't, you know, I don't own the restaurant, but just seeing how that, just the information provided such value for people, and to be able to coordinate that for people. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. And of course, I do love sharing these places, and I can have this kind of encyclopedic knowledge sometimes about like different places to eat. It's just like, it just stays in my brain because it's something I'm passionate about. And then I was making green smoothies for, you know, the suite of people. You know, you were one of them. You know, making green smoothies for, you know, a bunch of people in the hostel where we were, and people were knocked over. People, like, some people had never had them, and they were just like, this is great, and all this stuff. And it was like, okay, again, the experience of food is really important for people, and it can really transform and change lives. You know, if you're eating something, you know, that you've never had before or tried, and especially connected to your health, it can be a really transformative experience. So, looking at, you know, my strengths were definitely in terms of just the, like, going out there, the execution, the doing it, you know, putting this together, the coordination, the facilitation. And you mentioned I had, like, well, when I was living in LA prior to traveling, you know, I was acting, so I knew, you know, about that world to some degree. And then, you know, my passion, as you mentioned, definitely in food, nutrition, and sharing these places, and just the amazing, awesome work. I didn't grow up, you know, I grew up in an urban setting, but like, I'd never hung out on a farm. You know, the farm to table, or like, I never picked my own vegetables. Like, everything was always from the grocery store. So just to learn more about like what's possible in terms of the quality of food we eat was really exciting. And then in terms of value, it was just like, well, geez, people really love going out to eat. You know, like, it's a huge thing in America. I mean, across the world, but particularly in America. And, you know, it's such a social thing. We love going out to eat. Like, hey, let's go grab something to eat. And so, can I bring some value to that space of, like, you know, when you're out in the world, whether it's a place you're traveling or a place you live, you know, can I help you make healthier choices about where to eat? You know, even in a city, you know, as diverse as New York, I mean, you have no shortage of places to eat. But, you know, what are places that are maybe going to align with your values? Maybe if you want to eat grass-fed or organic or gluten-free or whatever, it's almost like this needle in a haystack sometimes. So if I can help people go, boom, that's the place you want to go to, and even, you know, and bring my energy about, you know, on-camera work and sharing these places and taking people around the world. That's the other thing, is because, you know, you sitting in your living room, you know, in Queens, that's awesome. But if I can show you some places in, like, you know, South Africa or Russia or Australia, and even if you don't go to these places, but you get ideas, about maybe the kind of food you want to start incorporating or eating or trying, because that's the other part of the show is not just showing you where to eat, but then how to bring these ideas back to your kitchen. So let me pause right there.
That's incredible, dude. Yeah, that's incredible. So, and I love how it's been a journey for you. I love how this wasn't just an idea that you thought of, and because I know you think of probably 3,000 ideas a day that you're really excited about for the first couple of minutes. But this is really a combination of your unique set of strengths, passions, and ability to serve. And you did the work. You spent time journaling with it, thinking about it, and at this point, you've fully immersed yourself, you've fully engaged in it, and you've taken everything you have and you said, fuck it, I'm going for this. Like, this makes sense. Yeah. I'm going to go for this. So before we get into where the project currently is right now and all that, let's bring it to the people who are watching this right now. Let's say, like, how can they incorporate some of the wisdom that you've already learned? What are maybe 3 things or a couple things that they can currently do to live healthier in the context of food and maybe even eating out or traveling, or anything you want to offer to them in regards to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the big things that comes up, I think a lot of the times is it can be like a slippery slope, when you go on vacation. Like maybe if you try to eat a certain way, you try to exercise, a certain way, and you miss one day or one afternoon, and then that turns into 2, 3, 4, and you just end up doing nothing. And maybe there's even some guilt. Well, one of the biggest things is flexibility. If it's commitment and flexibility. Those are the 2 key words. Like you and I, we're big into meditation. So if you have that commitment to meditate, awesome. Then it's just about being flexible. Maybe it's only going to be 5 minutes this day as opposed to the normal 30 you do. Or maybe it's going to be like at 6 in the afternoon instead of 6 in the morning. But being able to be open with that and being flexible is huge. Same thing applies to your nutrition, your exercise. Just be flexible. Maybe if you try to live like, 80% of the time, you eat the foods you love and 20%, is a little more indulgent. Maybe that's going to go down to 70-30, or even 60-40. It's okay. It doesn't mean you have to suddenly, because you can't find organic apples, you have to eat pizza and donuts, 24/7. But when it comes to, and I'll give you just 3 quick things when it comes to food. If you're going out to eat, here's 3 simple ways to, just make it a more healthy experience. Drink water with lemon. You can get anywhere, you can just ask for water and have them bring some lemon slices and put in there. Lemon, it boosts your immune system, it balances your pH, it aids your digestion, it can even help with weight loss. It's a great thing to have, it even tastes good. If you're going out, skip the bread, skip the chips. If you really want that salsa or guacamole, just have that as a side, with your dinner, with your entree or salad or whatever you're having. And then the third one, if you are looking to maybe split up meals or not eat as much, ask the waiter to box up your meal, like half of it, before they even bring it out to you. So, and so then you're just saving, you're saving it for like later that day or the next day or whatever, and you're not even tempted with the rest of the plate. I mean, I'm a thin person, but still, there's that mindset of like I need to clean my plate. So it's that's just one, and of course, like just about anywhere you go, you can look up these restaurants' menus online. A lot of them either have them on their site or Yelp has them, or other. You can just Google the name of the restaurant and the menu and see what comes up, and that can be just a good, easy way to do a little bit of research before you go out to eat to see if it's a place that you go, yeah, I can. There's a lot of stuff I can get there.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Cool. And health and nutrition is such a backbone for the people who are watching this and maybe curious, besides my personal relationship with Nathan, why this is such a relevant topic. Health is such a backbone to me being able to show up as the person that I can show up as. So unless I take care of my body, unless my health is in an optimal state, I really can't be of power, of service. I can't function at my best. I can't show up in the world and live the life I want to live. So for me, health is an incredibly relevant topic, and as Nathan said, there's simple things you can do. You can start with just these little habits to start to rock your health on a daily basis. So Nathan, let's go back to the show right now, and you're in the midst of this like insane, fucking audacious thing that you took on, right? You said basically, I'm gonna make a TV show. It makes sense, but it's totally unrealistic. It aligns with who I am, what I care about, what I want to do, how I want to serve. And I know people watching can relate to that. Can relate to like just having this goal, right? Whether it's making music or shooting videos or starting a blog or doing something, right? Starting a new profession, doing something that they're scared of. They're doubting themselves.
Yeah.
Will it work? Will it not work? What's the process like? So I know you have a Kickstarter campaign going right now to raise some money, and I know that it's not easy. And kind of our personal conversations that we've had, both before the project started, as it first started, and as it's going now, and also based on my own experience, people that I coach, I know that shit comes up, and like although it can seem like a really sexy thing, like I'm gonna go start a TV show, it's gonna be awesome, like behind the scenes, that there's anxiety, there's overwhelm, there's doubt, there's confusion, there's all these things that are real there, and I kind of want to honor that you're there, and that's part of the reason that I really wanted to do this chat right now, and I just wanted to show people, like, here's a dude who's in the midst, like he's out at war right now for his heart, for his passion, for what he cares about, and that's really why I wanted to do this video, is not only because we can verbally help people, but I want to show people, like, here's a dude who's actually doing it right now. This is not just theory. This is a guy who's out there, living on his edge, scaring himself, really scaring himself to do what he's doing right now, with a bigger purpose of, and it wasn't just a hey, I think I'm going to do this. It was a lot of thought, a lot of conversations, a lot of energy he put into doing this, and he's going for it. So I know we're trying to raise some money for you. I know that let's bring people up to speed. So you have a Kickstarter page. Tell us what that's about and kind of where you see the vision going from this point forward.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I got to back up a little bit, and I want to touch on some of the things you said, because I was just talking to somebody the other night who said, "Oh, I've thought about doing a TV show or whatever." And for me, there's this, I mean, enthusiasm is my number one signature strength, and it's an absolute blessing and a curse, because like it allows me to just forge, completely 100% in the direction of something, but without the strategy sometimes. And so I look back at this project of, what we've completed, and like, was it the best possible version? Could I have done it, more effectively, or could this have been punched up or tweaked, or even if I just spent a month more planning, what could I have improved? And I absolutely see those spaces. But the other part of me is like, well, fuck it, I got it out. Like, at least I did it. And knowing, like, okay, if this is the first episode, by episode 5, I'm going to be even better. And by episode 50, it's going to be even better than that, 10 times better. So while a lot of people are like, well, you didn't do this, or, you need to work on that, or this needs to be punched up, it's like, I hear that as totally agree. Baby steps, like it doesn't, you don't just show up on day one and be perfect. And I'm saying this more from like just experiences and realizing this myself. But yeah, there's a lot of darkness of like, does anybody care about this? And that continues to come up of like, whether it's, not getting emails back, or not getting, donations coming in or whatever. It's like, maybe nobody cares about this. Maybe this isn't a good idea. Maybe it doesn't really have value. Those doubts come up, and, just trying to come back to, well, what do I know? And really answering those questions, like, what do I know? What do I can control? What is the worst case scenario? What is the actual, like with this Kickstarter campaign, if we don't raise the money, what literally, will happen? What is the worst case scenario? And really writing that out, really getting honest with that, so, I can see, like, okay, my world will not collapse, like my friends will not leave me, I won't be tossed out on the street, all that stuff. And the other part, with whatever project you are excited about, you're thinking about, it's about taking that step forward. And it is scary to do that, but you will find the world will meet you. And that may show up with other people, or just, just different things will align. I mean, in my case, there was a friend who was, interested in production and working on screenplays, and I told her about this project. She was super excited about it. And, we were just having dinner, and I was like, yeah, I could probably use some help, producing this. And she's like, yeah, it sounds great. And I mean, she's been a huge part of this. but that would not have happened had I not even like mentioned it. And and she being in that space in her life to be open to something like that and wanting to do it, and you know, we put this together rather quickly. Just in terms of like the crew and locations, and looking back, hindsight 2020, it was like, yeah, a lot of things just started lining up that we didn't have to force, and I'm still trying to take that mindset with this, with the fundraising, because look, asking for money is totally out of my comfort zone. I've been calling some people and like just breaking into sweat. Like before I get on the phone, it's like, okay, what am I going to say? Like, oh my God, I have to actually like verbalize these words of like asking them for money, and I'm just like on the phone like blah, 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 like it just and it's like, okay, that was my workout for the day. And it's crazy, but I have to come back to like, take it, be patient with this. And that phrase that our buddy Brian always tosses out, diligent, patient, persistent, and playful, as he likes to add, and really trying to take that approach with this, because look, it's a 30-day campaign, and maybe it'll take 30 days to raise the full amount. Like, yeah, it would be awesome if we raised the full amount in day 2, but you know what? That doesn't always happen. We can't always control those things. We can't, so for me it's like, okay, just keep doing the work, keep trying to share that passion I have, the commitment, and even if this doesn't work, quote unquote, it doesn't mean the end of the project, it doesn't mean there isn't value. It just hasn't gotten to that space, or whatever, it isn't right at that time yet. That's all I mean. So what was your question? I just
Yeah, so before we go any further, so this is why I really wanted to have this chat, because I want people to hear exactly what you just said. I know everyone wants to do what you're doing in their own life. Like,
yes.
They all want to do their own version of what you're doing, and I want people to understand that it's a process. And like Nathan has that mindset, he has those fundamentals of patience, persistence, diligence. This shit may not work out on my first try, but you also wouldn't have been able to learn what you now learned about strategy, planning, all these different aspects of things. You wouldn't have been able to learn that unless you went ahead and actually took the steps and figured out, okay, what's the worst case scenario? The worst case scenario is I learn a bunch of things, chalk it up as this is a lesson. And even in my own experience, right, even like with the coaching stuff that I do, dude, I've been running Sensophy like 2.5 years at this point, and I'm just like in the last 4 months, getting to the point where I'm like not only paying my bills but getting beyond that, and like now buying a new Mac, or like starting to put money back into my savings, or like starting to think about how I can pay people to like make Sensophy a company and like give people jobs. Like, that is exciting to me.
Let me touch on that real quick, because the other thing is, like, people are like, is he rich? Like, how's he funding this? Where's it? Like, how do you get the ability to just like fully invest in this? And like, okay, here's the reality. If you want to totally throw yourself into a passion project, the easiest way to do that is to not think about making money at all. And because that's what I did, and and now it's the reality of like, fuck, I'm quickly running out of money, and like, what do I do? And so then like having those fears come up, and then needing to investigate what's the worst case scenario. So like, again, my enthusiasm totally threw me into this project. Maybe smarter way would have been like to figure out, how do I do this on the side, and maybe it takes 6 months as opposed to 2, but I can still generate income. I didn't do that, but now I'm in this space where it's like, okay, well, I just spent like 3 months working on this show, didn't really earn a lot of money, and now I'm like kind of running out of money. So what do I do? I mean, and number one, freaking out about it doesn't help, even though I like to do that every now and then. And it's one of the big things here, and I know you're into this as well. These daily fundamentals. These are not just like nice things to talk about. It's like, thank God I'm meditating regularly and exercising and eating well, because I can't imagine like how horrible I'd be if I weren't doing that stuff. I mean, I certainly still get stressed and frustrated and freak out about this stuff, but it would be even worse if I weren't doing that stuff. If I weren't meditating twice a day, taking care of myself. And it's totally a process, totally ups and downs, but not as volatile as maybe they could be. But it's absolutely a process, and still trying to figure out, and still, thinking about, well, how do I raise this money, and how do I earn money myself, and what am I doing next, and how do I make sure I'm communicating with my crew, and letting them know just where we are, and reaching out. Like, there's just a lot of stuff to manage, and it's it can absolutely be overwhelming, and it is overwhelming at points for me. And so it's just, again, like, how do I just breathe and try not to let that dominate my day, and I don't always succeed with that. Some days I just allow myself to keep spinning, and those are not the fun moments.
Yeah. So if somebody's watching this video, for the people who are watching this, you guys know how I talk about authenticity over and over and over. Where I talk about showing up vulnerably. I talk about living on purpose, doing the things that you care about, that has meaning to you. And I also talk about that I faced a ton of challenges in doing that. And what I'm so grateful for Nathan right now for doing is showing up in that place of authenticity, of vulnerability, of I don't have all this shit figured out, but I'm trying to figure it out, and I'm doing the work, and I'm living out my edge, and I'm going out there, and I'm showing up, and that's really what I want you guys who are watching this. Is what I want you guys to see. I want you to see that honesty, and my way of supporting Nathan is, one, being there for him anytime we want to get a chat, or talk to each other about what's going on, and two is to right now show you guys, boom, here's a guy who's really putting himself out there, who's doing it. How can we support him? Can we throw him $10, $20 on his Kickstarter campaign, whatever feels right for you, so that this dude can show up and serve the world with his passion, with his strengths, in a way that, like, it lights him up, and he's doing the work, he's taking the risk, and so, hey, that's why I really wanted to get this on video here and put it out there. So let's talk about kind of where you are with the campaign right now. If there's anything else you want to just mention about that, or anything people should know about how they can donate, or what the project is gonna, what they can expect when, and if you hit this number, and kind of what to look forward to with the show. And I think that would be a cool place to lead people off.
Absolutely. Well, the name of the show right now is Travel, Eat, Thrive. And it very much, to me, has this kind of nomadic connotation, which is, who I am and what I'm doing, and want to bring that experience to people. So if you go to traveleatthrive.com, you can watch a little teaser trailer, link over to the Kickstarter campaign, even sign up to, get notified, like, as this thing develops. So that's you can find out more. At that site. And yeah, we're just in the midst of raising funds, and if we exceed our goal, then it'll just allow us to put more into production, future episodes. But just really excited, like, some of the rewards include, like, a recipe guide that I'm going to put together, and I'm putting together all these recipes that, like, either I've created or, like, I've learned from other people on the road, and just, like, really great stuff. Doing a virtual cooking class and working on a special guest chef. Really excited about some of the people that might be able to do that, and it's just there's just a lot of cool opportunities there, to just not only contribute to the project, but then get something in return. Like, that's again, that's a piece where it's like, how can I provide value for people, whether it's my time personally, or something I can produce and create and help you optimize your life. There's one other thing I wanted to say, just in terms of, like, moving with your passion. It's you will absolutely not know if it's going to work. Like, that is almost guaranteed. And it's about moving forward in spite of that. And people wiser than I, have kind of given me this approach, is that you need to look at this as an experiment. Like, what did you learn? Like, if whether or not this Kickstarter project succeeds, even if it does succeed, it's like, okay, cool, that was an experiment, and it yielded the results I wanted. But what did I learn through the process? And even if I raise that money, it's not like, okay, cool, everything's set, like, now I can just coast. It's like, no, the work continues, and then I'll get to the next thing, where I start shooting the next episode, and I won't have answers for some of those questions. So it's just an ongoing process of, how can you more playfully experiment? I always like to have that visual of, like, I'm sure a scientist in a lab, like, when something doesn't work out, he doesn't, like, throw the beaker across the room and just, like, freak out on his coworkers. It's like, oh, okay, all right, well, let me try to add more of this the next time, or whatever. Like, it's like, Yeah, cool. Like, even if we're excited about it, how can we just playfully continue to move forward? And I'm totally still working on that.
Okay, right on, dude. Well, dude, thank you for being the example of what we talk about here, showing up authentically, vulnerability, dropping the jewels of wisdom on us, and figuring out how to live in integrity with your values in a way that serves other people. So, for everyone watching, there's some links below. Feel free, no pressure, of course. You know, if you watch this chat and you feel like you're not in a financial place where you can give anything, cool. Maybe just send Nathan an email, cheer him on. You know, send him a tweet, Facebook message, tell your mama about him, something, right? And if you can financially afford it, that would be great. You know, $10, $20, whatever you can. But again, no pressure. And that's it. So thank you guys for watching. Nathan, thank you for being here. And we will all talk soon. All right.
Thank you, buddy. Really, my pleasure, and I really appreciate the opportunity to share this part of the journey with you. So thanks again.
Okay, you got it, dude. Later, everybody.